Around the holiday season, as I was growing up, I always remember there was the handful of toys that were the most important to get, right? The trendy toy of the year might be Tickle Me Elmo or them darn Kirby things that never was quiet. But I remember as I was growing up, there was always this kind of like craze around getting these toys. Usually on the news, you would see something along the lines of lines being around a Toys R Us or Walmart or wherever it was that they were being sold. And then the doors open and people flood the store, just running in, trying to grab whatever they want to grab. I still remember as a kid thinking those people are absolutely insane to be out there waiting and waiting and waiting for so long for just a toy. Likewise, as I grew up, right, the new iPhone comes out, the new piece of Mac equipment, whatever it is, it comes out. And again, you have lines and lines and lines of people that wait for hours and hours and hours to get these new things. And again, I would think those people are insane. When I was a freshman in college, my first year, um, I went to my first LSU football game as a college student, and I waited in line for about 12 hours to get into the stadium, to get ready, and to get excited, and to go watch a football team. 12 hours before kickoff. I have a feeling that most of those people would have looked at me and said, "You are absolutely insane for doing that." And I can't tell them that they're wrong. I will say, though, the amount that we're willing to wait for something or the extent that we're willing to go for something usually is a clear sign of the love that we have for it or how much we cherish it. In that vein, as we're in the Lenten season, we see we're going to journey over these next weeks during this time in the desert to see how far God will go to reveal his love to us. Today, in a particular way, in the gospel, we hear in the transfiguration that there's this moment where Jesus reveals himself glorified to his apostles. It's the inner circle that are with him. They're up on this mountain, and he shows himself completely glorified, glowing. His skin glows, his clothes turns white. God the Father speaks over him with a beautiful title, a phrase that I think is not just meant for Jesus, but it's meant for each one of us. God says explicitly, this is my beloved son. That image, that story of being a loving, beloved son, meaning that we have a loving father. And he reveals to us over the course of the next few weeks that there is no extent that God will not go to prove and to show his love for us, to save us. This calls to mind a story that I remember somebody telling me. In 1989, there was an earthquake in Armenia. The earthquake was an 8.2 on the Richter scale, which means that everything was destroyed. Every building was flattened, roads were broken, everything was destroyed. About 30,000 people died in a matter of 4 minutes. It's an absolute tragedy. There was this one man, though, he and his son, a man named Samuel. He had a son named Armand. And as this man, every day he would bring his kid to school. He would bring his son to school, and when he would drop him off, he would say, "Armand, just remember, if you ever need me, I'll always be there for you. I love you, Dad. I love you, buddy. All right." And he leaves. As Samuel was on his way back home, that's when the earthquake hit. And the first thing that came to his mind was Armand. He raced back to the school and saw the building that he had dropped his son off on a daily basis flattened, and his heart sank. Just out of desperation, he started to dig. And he dug and he dug and he dug. And an hour goes by and other people are showing up. And as parents are showing up or authorities are showing up, they just see the pile of rubble. Parents are breaking down crying, just dreading that their child is underneath. Samuel continued, just dig, just dig. The entire time, just staying clear in his mind, the image of his son and the name, and just repeating, Armand, Armand. As people showed up, they would come up to him and they would criticize him and say, "What are you doing? There's no way he's alive. Why don't you just stop? Just give up." And he would look at him and he would say, "You can sit there and complain, or you can help me dig." And he would go right back to work. Different people helped, and he just continued. 6 hours, 7 hours later, still going. Muscles cramping, hands raw, still going. Arm on, arm on. 12 hours later, no food, no water, not worried, just thinking of his son and can I save him? A full 18, 24 hours later, he's never stopped. Other people are peeling off, other people are taking shifts, but Samuel continues, arm on, arm on. At the 38-hour mark, his hope is starting to break. And he reaches down, he moves a piece of concrete, still saying under his breath, arm on, arm on. And from under the rubble, he hears, Papa. As he looked into the hole that he had uncovered, his son's face looks up. Dusty, bloody, but his son nevertheless. As they dug, 14 of 33 students that were with his son survived. And as he saw his son and said, Armand, I told you I would be here for you, he heard his son look at his classmates who were alive and say, I told you my dad was coming. Every one of us have a loving father who sees us as his beloved son, has no limit to the extent of how far he will go. And when he looks at us, he says, your name, my name. And he just wants to save us. He sees us that we're under the rubble of sin. In this Lenten season, the purpose of God's action is to save us from it. He digs, he claws, he does whatever he can, but it doesn't look like cramped muscles and raw hands. It looks like a cross. As we continue in this Lenten journey, we're walking our way ever closer to Christ who dies for our sake. And when he does, he only thinks your name and mine. Just know I'll never leave you orphan. I'll never leave you alone. God continues to reveal his love to us, and he continues to reveal his love to you. May this Lenten season, we be so bold as to accept it.